Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I suggest we begin now so that we can finish on schedule and leave some time later for addressing any questions you may have. I'd like to start by thanking you all for attending the session. It's great to see such a strong turnout. I'd like also to introduce myself and the team who have been involved in designing this program and who will be also involved in executing it moving forward. My name is Nada Al-Awlaqi and I lead the Innovation Development and Piloting Programs at Qatar Research Development and Innovation Council. I'd like also to introduce 3 other members of the QRDI team who have played a key role in designing this program and will continue executing this program moving forward. We have Vishnu from the innovation team, we have Rosina from the policy and advocacy team, and we also have Omar Bazian from the talent capacity building team. Please, our team members, open your cameras so that the audience can see you and recognize you, if you can. In terms of the structure of the session, we will start with the presentation for 30 to 40 minutes, and after that we'll have 20 minutes for answering the questions that will be typed in the chat. So feel free to share your and type your questions in the chat. And I'll start the presentation with the first slide, which is to highlight the QRDI Council's mandate, which is to drive progress towards Qatar knowledge-based economy agenda, and also to build on the previous and the existing efforts that have contributed to establishing the foundation for this transition. Starting from the creation of Qatar Foundation in 1995 and its research institutes, the Qatar Science and Technology Park, and also the Qatar National Research Fund, to the Qatar National Vision 2030, which identifies the transition to a knowledge-based economy as one of its key objectives. And then to the second National Development Strategy, NDS2, which placed even greater emphasis on this goal. Following that came the establishment of the QRDI Council and the launch of the National Innovation Strategy, which was endorsed by His Highness in 2021. This strategy is now considered one of our key pillars for Qatar's economic growth framework in the latest National Development Strategy that was published last year. So this is basically the journey that Qatar has undertaken, which is an inspiring and promising path toward becoming a knowledge-based economy. Here you can see the 7 strategic pillars of the 3rd National Development Strategy, along with the 4 key elements of its economic growth framework. And as you can see, innovation is one of these core elements, which is important for driving sustainable economic growth. And the QRDI Council is tasked with leading this agenda. And the NDS3 also sets ambitious innovation targets, as you can see on the right side of the slide, to be achieved by 2030. These include positioning Qatar among the top 30 countries in the Global Innovation Index, the GII, doubling gross expenditure on R&D to 1.5% of GDP, and increasing the private sector's share of R&D expenditure to 60% of the total. So these are the targets that QRDI Council is working toward through both the existing innovation programs and also the new programs or initiatives that we plan to implement over the coming few years. So the way QRDI Council drives the national agenda is through complementing and supporting other economic agendas and equipping them with a technology-based competitive advantage and enabling them to address their national priorities and challenges through innovative and advanced technologies. And the Council achieves this by providing a range of services to the other sectors, which include the access to science and tech talent, the access to non-dilutive R&D funding, access also to piloting opportunities, and also access to infrastructure and regulatory support and services for the projects that require this kind of support. And the way we provide these services is basically through our various funding programs and initiatives, which are outlined on this slide. So we have 5 types of, I would say, pillars or strategic programs. The first one is the innovation development programs, which include initiatives aimed at intensifying R&D activities in the private sector by incentivizing the global and local businesses to conduct R&D projects in Qatar. The second pillar or the second program is the innovation piloting and adoption program, which includes initiatives and sub-programs that encourage local entities and whether from the government sector or large local enterprises to become test beds for piloting new innovative technologies and early adopters of these technologies. And then we have the third program, which is the Global Innovation Alliances and Partnerships, which aims to establish a strong pool of promising innovation-based companies by establishing strategic global partnerships within the strategic areas for Qatar. And the next one is the Scientific Research Program, which supports scientific research that generates new knowledge and also pushes the frontiers of science and fosters an innovation mindset among RDI entities across the different sectors. And the last program or the last pillar is the Talent Development Program, which focuses more on developing, attracting, and retaining a strong base of RDI talent to drive and execute the current and future RDI projects and programs. So these are all of our activities fall within one or more of these 5 main pillars or programs. And as part of the innovation development program, QRDI Council has always aimed to support businesses at all stages. So 2 years ago, we launched the Technology Development Grant, which was mainly for large local enterprises and international companies and also local companies that are able to co-fund and that are willing to work on larger scale R&D projects. And this year we launched the Small Business Innovation Grant, which is mainly designed to support small businesses and early stage ventures. Moving to the Small Business Innovation Grant, I'll walk you now through the key details about the grant that I believe any company that's interested in applying should be aware of. So first, it's important to understand the main objective of this program or this grant, which is basically to stimulate innovation in SMEs and support them to accelerate their commercialization efforts. The second objective is also to enhance the research, science, and engineering capabilities within SMEs and strengthen the national RDI talent base. And the third objective is to promote sustainable economic growth by empowering the SMEs that are operating in the strategic priority areas for Qatar. In terms of eligibility, any SME that meet the following criteria is eligible to apply. SME with holding companies based in Qatar with majority owned by Qatari residents or citizens. and with a number of employees less than 250 and annual revenue that's less than 100 million Qatari riyal. In terms of the focus areas or the priority areas for this grant, these are the 5 focus areas that applicants should focus on. First one is medical and healthcare. Second one is the logistics and transportation. Third one is smart cities. Fourth one, creativity, arts and tourism. And the last one, the emerging digital technologies. And we kept those focus areas a bit broad for this cycle to give companies greater flexibility in defining the scope of their own projects. However, in the future cycles, we may consider narrowing these focus areas to be more focused on specific themes. So now I'll hand it to my colleague, Rosina, who will walk you through the program structure and explain how the applicants will be also evaluated. And then we have also a third colleague, Vishnu, who will share more details about what this grant could be used for and provide also some guidelines on what is supportable, what's not supportable in terms of expenses. And yeah, the floor is yours, Rosina.
Thank you so much, Nada. So thank you once again for joining this info session. And my goal is twofold. First, I'm going to take you through the program structure itself, how we've structured the program. And secondly, I'm going to talk to you about how we are going to evaluate the proposals that we're going to receive. So to start with the program structure, this call is actually based on 2 phases, phase 1 and phase 2. And these 2 phases, we look at them as different, distinct programs. And I'm going to take you each one of them from phase 1 to phase 2. What are we looking at in terms of objectives, the level of maturity of the technology that we're looking for, the duration, funding, as well as activities that are permissible within these 2 phases, and who is eligible. So starting with phase 1, when we look at the proposals that are coming into phase 1, we are actually assessing technology feasibility. Is the proposal that you have given us, does it have technical soundness? Does it have commercial feasibility? So this is the objective of phase 1 in terms of what we're looking at. So we need to make sure that our proposals address a technical need as well as have got commercial feasibility. So for technologies that we're looking for phase 1, we're looking at the readiness level of the maturity of the technology itself to be less than 4. So for those who are not aware, TRL is just a system that assesses the maturity level of a technology. The details for technology readiness levels is also appended in the call for applications for this call, which you can find on InnoLight, where we describe what does technology readiness level 1 until 9 entail. And if you fall within 1 and 4, then you actually should apply for phase 1. So please go and check the request for application, which is on InnoLight. Look at the technology readiness level table that we have included there and check based on the maturity level of your technology. Does it belong to a basic concept, or is it something that you want to scale? This is going to make sure that you are able to apply for a particular phase that is proper for your technology. For phase 1, the duration is actually 6 to 12 months. So we're looking for a very short span of time where we're actually checking for feasibility. The amount of money that we're putting in is up to 800,000. This is the maximum that we have. You can have a project which is below this. That's also acceptable. But the amount of money that we are actually giving is up to 800,000 Qatar riyals. And activities that can happen within phase 1 are as listed. We're checking for proof of concept. If you want to check feasibility of your technology, for example, if you want to create a basic prototype or you want to make iterations to your prototype, these are the kind of activities that are permissible for phase 1. Anything beyond this, then we'll be looking at phase 2. Who is eligible for this? This is SMEs that fall within the eligibility criteria as stated by NADA. So we are looking for companies that I'm sure most of you are eligible, being companies that have less than 250 employees and making a turnover of 100 million Qatar riyals per year. So that's all about phase one. And for phase two, we're looking at technical development as the objective. So we want to advance the prototype, we want to advance the pilot, we want to do scaling, we want to go further into the development stage of the technology. And this is where we are looking for maturity levels which are a bit higher. We're looking for TRL 4 and above, and the duration is 12 to 24 months. The amount of money for activities for phase two, considering the level of scale of activities, is up to 2.2 million Qatar riyals. And the activities include prototype development, pilot testing, validation of the technicality of the technology that you have, system integration, pilot deployments, and preparation for market entry. So this is a phase where you're really looking at how you can put your technology closer to the market. Any SME that meets these eligibility criteria that are stated and they have completed phase one are eligible to apply for phase two. Now, I want to make one point very clear here, is that sometimes you may already have a prototype, or you may already have a working prototype that you just want to now further into, like maybe you just need money for scaling, or you want to actually deploy, pilot your prototype. You need to make sure that you have done that and you can prove that you have done that before applying for phase two. So not everyone who is going for phase two should have done phase one. And of course, you would understand that this being a first call, we don't have anyone from phase one, but we do understand that maybe within your organizations, you have already come up with a phase one, a prototype or a POC. You have already done feasibility studies, and then you just want money to further develop. This is when you apply for phase two. So just point out that you don't have to have a phase one from QRDI to go to phase two. As long as you can show that you have results that are equivalent to phase one, then you can apply for phase two. And when you're applying, you just make sure that you state exactly where the level of your technology is, where you believe the TRL is, and what activities you want to do. And also just to clarify that you have done phase one previously using maybe internal grants or other external grants, but you have achieved, let's say, POC or feasibility study or basic prototype that you want to take to phase two. So just clarity in terms of the program structure itself. Nada, if you can go to the next slide, please. Nada?
Sorry, Zina, I'm trying. It's a bit slow.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, thank you, Nada. You can just take the whole slide, you can just put it all up. So in terms of evaluation, this is something that I want to discuss next, because then you understand, after you submit the proposals, how are we evaluating the proposals? And this is very critical because it makes you know what you need to include in your application so that we can evaluate you properly, we can assess you properly. Sometimes you can have a technology that is great and maybe the team is great, but then you have not articulated very well. So it's important that you understand how we evaluate so that you clearly state how your technology will achieve these kind of parameters that we have identified. So when you looking at the slides here, you'll see that we have two sides here, phase one and phase two. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking at these as two distinct programs, meaning that we're going to be evaluating them differently, separately, because of course the objectives are separate, so we have to look at them differently. However, you also note that the parameters are the same. We're looking at three essential things. We're looking at innovativeness and technical merit. We're checking team capability and commercial viability and market potential for both phases. However, the key considerations are what differentiates the two phases. So starting with phase one, under innovativeness and technical merit, we're looking at clear problem definition and understanding of market gap. So have you been able to articulate clearly what the problem is? Have you defined what the problem is that your technology is going to solve? Do you understand any gap in the market? That's one. Number two, we'll be looking at scientific or technical merit. So we'll be checking at novelty, originality of the concept that you have actually proposed. Because we do not want to have something that is already in the stores off the shelf, that is already out there. Because this is, as Nada mentioned earlier, this is an innovation program. So we are looking at innovative concepts. So we'll be looking at novelty and originality of the concept that you have. And thirdly, we are looking at potential for IP and unique competitive advantage. So in your proposal, you should be able to articulate the potential for generating intellectual property, or what unique competitive advantage do you think your concept, when done, is going to provide? So 3 key things under innovativeness and technical merit, just to recap: clear problem definition, scientific and technical merit, as well as potential for generating intellectual property. And let me just say here, for those that may be not very much aware of intellectual property, we're not looking only at patents. We're looking at software, we're looking at new processes, new methods, new frameworks. So this is just for emphasis purposes. So for phase 1, that's that for innovation and in technical merit. In terms of team capability, we want to make sure that technical and business expertise exists within the project team. Obviously, this is important because if we have the right team, then we know that the project is going to be successful. So we'll be checking for credibility, track record, relevant experience of the team members. This is why when you go for the application, you will note that the form requests for who is in the project team, what credentials do they have, what expertise do they have. If you have got any CVs, put them there, because this is going to make us know who is actually involved in the project and what credentials do they have to achieve this properly. Also, let me clarify that if you envision that your team is going to require subcontractors, collaborators, please mention them here, because then we'll be able to see that if there's the core team itself internally is lacking, you have looked into looking at other third parties that can help you, because collaboration is also allowed under this core. So for team capability, anyone who's going to be involved in the team, internally, externally, identify them and put them here. The third element we're looking at is commercial viability and market potential. So if you can show us any indications of early demand, is there any interest? Do you have any feedback? Did someone express the need for the concept? How relevant is it to the industry or to the national priorities? So for any company to come up with any new technology, you have identified a need in the market. You have identified, maybe someone has talked to you about the importance of having this concept. Maybe you see that there's a gap. So this is where you actually have to identify any indications of any demand for your concept. And then we also look at initial commercialization strategy. Do you have a high-level plan that outlines potential path to market? Do you understand what the model is going to be? Are you going to be licensing? Are you going to be spinning out further? Are you going to create partnerships? So just an indication of what you envision your concept, your technology to be. And then thirdly, we're looking at preliminary market insights. So demonstration of early understanding of the potential market and application of your technology. What is the application? What is the market? Are you aware of competitive landscape? Have you differentiated yourself from what is existing? So when you look at these criteria, you see that we're really looking at innovation, creation of new concepts, methods, processes. We're looking at something that is credible in terms of technicality and scientific potential merit. We're looking at the team. Is it able to conduct the project? And also we're looking at whether there's commercial viability for the technology itself. And for phase 1, let me emphasize that we are not looking for detailed plans or detailed analytics of the market. We're looking at an indication of market commercialization and technical potential, because we understand that you're just starting out and you are yet to prove the concept. You're yet to prove the feasibility of the concept. Now, looking at phase 2, this is where things become a little bit more serious, because at this stage, you should have already had the MVP, perhaps the feasibility, the POC from phase 1. So now here when we look at technical merit and innovativeness, we're looking at how the novelty from phase 1 has actually evolved into phase 2. Do you have a prototype? Are you intending to create new features? Have you understood that based on the IP that you created previously, if you did, how you're going to advance it into phase 1? So here we're looking at more advanced developments based on what you developed in phase 1. we're looking at new initiatives that you're going to include as a result of the evolution of your phase 1 initiatives in terms of the technical and innovativeness. In terms of capabilities as well, just like in phase 1, we're looking at whether you have identified for those initiatives in phase 2, whether you have identified a team that is capable to execute based on the phase 1 or any similar projects that you did previously in other grants. So we also want to see whether there are any enhancements in the team, such as addition to the team 1 phase. Because, for example, if in team 1 you only needed 2 people, and then you realize that based on new initiatives to be done in phase 2, you need extra capabilities with extra new insights, then indicate here. This is also very crucial. And then for the third criteria, we're looking at commercial potential and market opportunity. So here you should actually showcase any validations from customers, whether there's letters of support, whether it's pilot partners that you have identified, are there any early adopters, do you have any letters of intent from potential buyers, or maybe identification of potential investors. So this is where it becomes a little bit more serious, because as we're going closer to the market, we want to be able to know that you understand the customers and there's actually a real need or a real interest for the technology that you have. And then secondly, we'll look at evidence of the market demand. Have you been able to identify the size of the market? Do you know your target customers? Do you understand the competitive landscape? Are you still able to differentiate your competitiveness from what's already existing? In terms of the commercialization plan, we'll be looking at, this time it has to be a little bit more detailed. So what is your go-to-market strategy? Do you have any pricing, sales channels? Have you protected any IP, or do you intend to protect IP? Do you have any regulatory considerations if applicable to your technology? So this is where we want to see more serious plans for commercialization. And then lastly, we're looking at a clear plan to achieve financial sustainability and scalability. This has to be shown, in terms of the growth from your commercialization. We need to see what plan do you have that you're going to achieve financial sustainability within your company when you actually successfully develop this technology. So phase 1 and phase 2, same parameters, different key considerations based on the initiatives within each phase. Next, I would like to talk about the process on how we actually evaluate. So I've talked about the parameters for evaluation. Now it's going to be, how do we actually evaluate? What is the process? How do we do it once we receive your proposal? Next slide, please. The one before this. Yeah, thank you very much. So this is the evaluation process that we have within QRDI for SBIG. And I want to emphasize one key point, is that we know that your proposals vary across different priorities. And we know if we are checking scientific and technical merit, we need to have the right kind of people to evaluate these proposals. So because of this, we've got a comprehensive method for evaluating the proposals. We'll be doing this both in-house and externally. For in-house, we're looking at, if you look at number 1 here, we're looking at eligibility and just checking whether you have completed the forms itself. So in terms of eligibility, obviously we only want SMEs. We want SMEs that are in the country. So this is something that we were going to check internally. We're checking at administrative requirements. Have you completed the documents and the forms as required? Have you filled in all the information that we requested on the forms? That's what we'll be looking at. Next, after we've checked that you have actually satisfied the requirements for eligibility, we'll be looking at internal screening. So is your concept, is your idea relevant to the national priority sectors that we have set for this core? Or is it outside? So if it is outside, then we are going to take the proposal out and consider only those that are within the priority areas. So as my colleague mentioned, the priority areas are very broad, that you would be able to identify what you want to anchor on in terms of the priority. So feel free to justify to us why you believe that your technology fits into the national priority sectors. And if we see that what you're saying is actually credible, then we'll move it through to screening it further. So compliance to objectives and the application templates, again, completing the templates is very fundamental, and understanding the objectives of each phase is also important. So as you're applying for phase 1, for example, understanding that we want to do technical feasibility is very important to highlight that. Third, we're going to look at clear articulation of the problem statement. So here, we're not looking at the merits of the problem statement, as you have indicated internally. We are looking at whether you have articulated it clearly that even a lay person will be able to understand what the problem is. This means that you have to be very, very clear in terms of identifying the problem, stating it, and that should be enough for our internal screening. Obviously, we also check for potential conflicts of interest. So that's that about internal screening. Now, after internal screening happens, we'll be sending the proposals externally to technical subject matter experts. So these are the ones that are experts in the field, as stated in the priority area section, and they'll be looking at feasibility and innovation of the proposal. We do understand that people who are in the field would be able to identify whether this is technically and commercially sound. So we're looking at people who are in the field for both the scientific part as well as the market experts to assess early stage innovation, product market fit, and execution risks. So all of these are external and are relevant to the priority areas for the subject matter of your technology. When they review this, they're going to give us some scores, and then the next stage will be a panel review. So panel members are going to evaluate the proposals after a pitching session. And this is very important to note that anyone who has gone through this process, when it comes to the panel, you will have to prepare a pitch. We understand that not everyone will be able to articulate very well in the proposals, and maybe they've got limitations in terms of the words, and you'll not be able to express yourself fully, or maybe we have questions that you can only answer by coming physically to explain to us. This is an opportunity for you to clarify what we're asking for, maybe further things that maybe if there's improvements that have happened from the time of application to the time of the panel, maybe TRL has moved. So this is a point where you can express yourself freely, to articulate, to kind of get more points, if I would say, if there's anything that you missed in the documents that you submitted. So the panel is going to consist of the SBIG team members internally in QRDI. We're also going to have technical experts, industry experts, and IP experts, ethical and compliance experts, and some observers. So this team, as you'd see, is really crucial to the evaluation of the proposal itself, of course, both for internal alignment as well as the technicality, the novelty, originality, and whether there are any issues concerning compliance, maybe ethics, regulatory things that we have to look into. So a very comprehensive evaluation process, taking into account internal as well as external parameters, making sure that this is something that is transparent, something that is credible, and that's what we'll be looking at. So this is all I have to, I think this is my last slides. Is that so, Vishnu? I think this should be the last on my end. And the next slide, Vishnu will take you through the cost structure guidelines. What does the money look like? So over to you, Vishnu.
Okay, thanks, Rosina and Nada. Am I audible? Can Rosina or Nada confirm?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you and we can see you as well, Vishnu. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as you see, like as Rosina covered, what's about like the process and the about the evaluation process, and like what is like the total grant amount for phase 1 and phase 2. So in the following slides, we will cover what are the different type of cost categories that will be supported as a part of the grant. So first of all, I want to emphasize that this particular program it is a 100% grant. It is not a co-funding program. It is a 100% grant provided by QRDI. There are mainly 3 cost categories that we support as a part of the grant funding. So as you see in the, these are the 3 cost categories. We support manpower, that is the salaries of the employees, equipment, and the operating expenses. And you also see like in the 2 columns, what is the percentage of the grant. For example, like you are applying to phase 1 and the total grant amount is 800,000. And in case, because of your nature of the proposal, all your grant funding should go as a part of the manpower. Entire 800,000, if you are willing to spend in terms of manpower, this is allowed. Now in second category, equipment cost, similarly for the same example for phase 1, which is like the total grant can't exceed beyond 800,000 riyals. As per your nature of the proposal, in case you require an equipment that is worth of 500,000 riyals, we can only support 50% of the total grant amount, that is 400,000 riyals. So that means we have capped this particular cost category on the 50% of the total grant amount. Either it is for phase 1 or phase 2. So in case of phase 1, maximum you can avail in this particular cost category, a maximum of 400,000 riyals, because the total grant is 800,000. And in phase 2, it can't go beyond 1.1 million Qatari riyals, because the total grant for phase 2 is 2.2 million. Anything in excess, it is up to the grantee how they can actually manage the budget. But the grant funding agency can only do up to the cap of this. Similarly, it applies for operating expenses. So it is capped at 40% of the total grant amount. And there are also certain capping elements for subcategories of operating expenses. In case if you require to travel as a part of maybe you are going and doing a presentation that is actually a part of the scope of the project proposal, you have been selected for some seminar or like going and do a paper presentation, those kind of related travel costs are covered, but these are capped. So these are capped at phase 1 and capped at phase 2. In phase 1, you can avail up to 15,000 riyals, and in phase 2, up to 30,000 riyals. Similarly, like you can also use some of the money of the grant amount for IP, like filing IP. That will be capped in phase 2 about 30,000. And in phase 2, you can utilize up to 100,000 riyals for your IP filing and IP services. So let's move to the next slide, which actually gives even more details what are covered in different cost categories. Yeah. So as we talked about like these three cost categories, so this is a high level summary, what is supportable and what is non-supportable. This is applicable for both phases, irrespective of whether you are applying to phase 1 and phase 2. The same conditions apply. So first of all, we'll talk about in manpower, what kind of staff that we are talking. This is in general the philosophy. You can always you should understand that the type of manpower that are supported are directly relevant to the scope of the project work, and that also directly relevant to the developmental scope. Even though like you might require some other kind of manpower that are related to sales and marketing, administrative, HR, legal, finance, those kind of profiles of manpower will not be supportable as a part of the grant, because the grant is intended primarily to accelerate your tech or product or process development. So all kind of roles that are relevant to the tech development are actually covered. And also in under the salary, what kind of allowances that are not supported. So I mean, as we know, like in Qatar, we get like a travel allowance, education allowance for children. Those kind of allowances are not covered as a part of the salary, and it has to be paid by the employer. And even like the insurance can't cover as a part of like the grant support. Similarly in capex, I mean, let's get to the capex. Any equipment if that costs more than 10,000 riyals and that has a life of more than 1 year, you should always put that kind of expenses in capital expenditure in your budgeting sheet. Actually, like a detailed budget sheet with definitions and providing a brief description of each kind of cost category is actually uploaded on the Innolite portal in SBIG. Please use that as a guideline and while preparing your budget, and you can even upload the same Excel file while filling your application form. So in CapEx, again, it should be directly relevant to the tech development. Even though you require laptops, desktops, some kind of office furniture, these kind of cost categories will not be supported as a part of the grant. Now, in other operating expenses, anything that actually like costs less than like 10,000 riyals, even that includes like simulation softwares, consumables, materials that are actually required for your developmental work are actually supportable. But anything like you lease like any laptops or like lease any office office related consumables, administrative related activities. These are not actually supportable as a cost. Now, even in the manpower, we actually also support subcontracting. Suppose if a university collaborates with suppose let's take like two instances. A university research has been spin off into a new entity. Now the spin-off is a private enterprise, but the private enterprise still want to collaborate with the university where the technology has been originated from. So portion of the grant can actually be still utilized to fund university staff or even leverage some of the infrastructure in the university if you have to pay as a part of like the governance model of the university where it requires some payment to be done to utilize infrastructure. This can be done. These two costs can be actually supported. Even you can actually like pay some of the university staff in subcontracting, and also you can pay some of the services of university in operating expenses. So, and in the second kind of a scenario where a university did not spin off their tech, but university have licensed their IP, and sort of like some kind of an agreement happened between university and private enterprise. Even in that case of scenario, it can be some portion of the grant money can be still be subcontracted to university. So how much portion of money can be subcontracted? It actually depends upon the nature of your collaboration. In these two scenarios, actually like we are actually supporting and encouraging. The subcontracting amount is actually much higher than where there is no collaboration with a local university, or like if the technology has been not originated from university. So in this way, to incentivize research into commercialization and still like continue to leverage the expertise of university, we have allowed as a part of this program a subcontracting to university. So let's move to the next slide. Yeah, I think this is where I have already mentioned. So in the second row, as you see, like either you are a collaboration with any local Qatari university, either it is a spin-off or you are a co-applicant or a tech transfer kind of arrangement is done. Subcontracting can go up to 40% of the grant amount. That means in phase one, you can actually use 40% of the total grant as subcontracting, both for phase one and phase two. But the money will only go directly to the private enterprise, and the private enterprise actually have to finally transfer that money back to university. But this scope of the subcontracting has to be explicitly mentioned in our application. In the scope of the development, what is the contribution of the university? And this has to be the key in the application process. So let's move to next slide. So here are the timelines. We have already launched this. We have already opened up for applications. So we are aiming to close our application, taking applications by August 15th and aiming to award like in September. And you can directly like go through InnoLight portal. Even the detailed process as how to submit the application. We also have a document that we have uploaded on the InnoLight portal. Please do like download that kind of a guide so that it would be easy for you to navigate through our portal so that you don't face any challenges. So I will take a pause here and we could be happy to answer any queries that you had. And use this email ID if you have like any queries in between. And we are continuously watching our emails and we'll be responding. We'll be responding soon to on this email ID for any queries related to this grant process.
Thank you, Vishnu, and thank you, Rosina. Let's open the floor to the audience to ask any questions they have about any of the elements of the program that we talked about. So please, we can allow some of the participants to talk. So I'll pick some of the ones who have their hands raised. So we have a participant here. Please unmute and share your question with the team. Okay, let's pick another person. Nazli?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, Nazli.
Thank you very much for a very informative session. I will take a little time to ask my question. First of all, congrats on really evaluating, like taking small time to evaluate. Like September is a great time. After I was about to ask how long it's gonna take to get the results. So September is kind of a great thing as a feedback. So my question is, first of all, these payments are like done after we submit the expenses, or they are let's say phase one payment is given in 3 batch, and then we use money to hire people. So this kind of getting the money from previously or afterwards really change the face of R&D work. So my first question is this one. And my second question is about like as Zina Vision, we have multiple R&D going on. Some of them are already verified ones, but some of them we just started, like invisible threat detection through 4D radars, for example. It is below the TRL4. So like, can we apply more than one as we have multiple R&D going on? Or is it like suggested to apply one?
Okay.
Hand it over to you, Vishnu, to answer, given it's related
So
to
on the first question on the payment, maybe it's also beneficial to all the attendees here. So the way the program is designed is that after all the process is done, in case you are informed that you will be awarded, before you even start the project, certain percentage of the total grant will be given as advance. And we'll also pay whatever is your capex budget. Suppose like you are submitting for phase one 800,000 reals, and in the first year it's because it's only 6 months, and you have a budget of 300,000 reals as capex. So we'll be giving 300,000 reals before you start the project, and also 20% of the remaining cost categories as advance. So this way you will have enough cash flows for you to start managing the project, even like hiring people, and also like sort of procuring like relevant consumables or equipment. Now after that, the next payments will be done based on either milestone basis or actually like on a biannual basis. So the remaining payment reimbursement is done, and that remaining payment will be actually linked on the progress that the applicant is making. So in this way, we actually made a bit freed. It's a hybrid approach. You have an advance, and later, like you actually can reimburse in the mid of the project itself. So that's how the payment process is structured.
Very, very smart. Thank you.
And the second question, as you mentioned about like, can an applicant do 2 projects? Yes, technically yes. And again, I want to emphasize that the primary applicant should be a private enterprise, not the university. You can only collaborate with the private enterprise. As long as like the 2 projects have a different scope, it is eligible. But if the 2 projects are directly linked to each other, then we don't consider as like a 2 distinct applications, then it will be one application. So as long as you prove that these are entirely two different projects and have two different kind of a needs, market needs, it has to be clearly emphasized why these two are different.
Thank you, Mr. Vishnu. That's you answered perfectly. I wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Let's pick
Hello.
another
Yeah.
question. Yusuf Abdullah.
Yalla. Assalamu alaikum. My question is to Vishnu. I have two quick questions. First of all, maybe how many grants are eligible to be like will be granted? It's like, is it one winner? Is it like few grants, or is it whatever eligible that the grant will be granted to? The second question, can be the same project co-funded? Like if we have one project that actually costs around 10 or 10 million, so can the grant be like a 20% part of that project, or it has to be like an only project for this grant? Thank you.
Nada, would you like to take the first one, and second one I'll try to attempt?
Yeah, in terms of the target of number of awards to be awarded this year, yes, we have an internal target, and it's a good number of awards, but I prefer not to disclose that or not to share, because sometimes we receive like high number of applications and we decide to increase the number of awards and we exceed the target. So yeah, you shouldn't worry about that. I would suggest that you focus more on improving the quality of the application you're submitting, because in the end it's a competitive grant and it's a competition.
Sure.
And yeah, we might end up increasing the target. So I prefer not to disclose that.
That's great. Thank you so much.
And thank you. Thank you, Yusuf. The second program, Vishnu, would you like to
And the
answer?
second question, again, correct me, Yusuf, like suppose like you, as the scope of the project budget is even larger than the award size, are you eligible to apply? Yes. But as a funding agency, our grant can't exceed whatever is the cap that we have actually announced, either for phase 1 or phase 2. Suppose like if your budget is like 5 million or 6 million and the scope demands that, and you have applied to phase 2, yeah, the maximum we could only give 2.2. You are free to apply, but a funding agency can only cover that only up to 2.2 million. But the remaining applicant has to sort of source it.
Then I'll have like a follow-up question on that. Like, what is the KPI for like the project is done or the grant been given? Like the milestone you mentioned in a previous question, the milestones I have to present at the beginning or throughout the project?
You will actually, as a part of the application process, you would be actually drafting for this grant, what are the expected outcomes, expected milestones. You actually have to define what is the success criteria for the milestone. So the subsequent payment, basically we monitor whether, when we say project progress, this is what we mean, whether the project is actually running smoothly and subsequent milestones, what they have actually like outlined, are they achieved or not? Because the next payment then purely depends upon whether the project is going on track or not. Yeah. It's a part of the
Great. Thank you,
application.
Vishnu.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you, Nida.
Thank you.
Let's pick another question.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Okay.
Oh,
Hello.
Hello. We have Sidra and Mohammed. Let's start with Sidra. Please go ahead, ask your question, and then we'll go to Mohammed.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I have two questions. My first question is that we have a presence in Qatar. We have registered an LLC in Qatar, but we are also operating in Pakistan. We are also operating in Saudi Arabia. So would we still be eligible to apply for this grant? And my second question is that our tech is ready, but there are customizations on a rolling basis. So if the tech is ready and we want to utilize this grant for growing our revenue and for expanding, so would we be eligible for that?
I would hand over the first question to Rosina. Are you around? If
Yes.
not, okay, I'll answer that
Yeah,
question.
I'm around, but I think Vishnu can also support there, because if you do have a presence in Qatar, then when you look at eligibility criteria, we're looking at SMEs that are actually headquartered in Qatar. That is the definition. And so I understand you have got different markets. Qatar is one of them. The question then would be whether Qatar is headquartered. Vishnu, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, I just want to just like make it very simple on the background that you are given. If your entity in Pakistan is 100% subsidiary of the Qatari enterprises, then you are eligible. Because if you see our eligibility guideline, we require the enterprise to be headquartered in Qatar. What does it mean is that we look into who is the ultimate beneficiary owner of the local enterprise. If your ultimate beneficiary owner of the local enterprise is your Pakistan enterprise, that means your headquarter is actually not in Qatar. So your actually headquarter is outside Qatar. So look into your company structure. In that way, see that you satisfy the eligibility. Majority of your parent entity should be owned either by residents or Qatari citizens. If you satisfy that, then you are satisfying our eligibility criteria.
Okay. Her second question, Vishnu, about utilizing the grant for, they have the technology ready, but they're interested in
This
using
is
the
a
grant
bit
to
subjective.
increase.
As long as because you have tech ready, obviously you will not be eligible for phase 1. Then if you are going for phase 2, we also need to look into at what TRL level right now you are. Because if you are already like TRL 7, so that means like it becomes a bit weak, because the intent of the grant is to actually accelerate your development. As long as the scope of development still demands further enhancing your features or adding new features to your existing product line, that actually gives you more potential to create more revenues or address more problems which is not addressed by your current product line. Then that determines the scope. So else, if it is just like very minor customizations and already existing, then actually like it is not satisfying the readiness of the tech. I mean, that means your product is already close to commercial. So close to commercial versus like the development required, you have to actually like calibrate that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's move to Mohammed. He's still around.
Assalamu alaikum. I have two questions.
I am sorry. I mean, it's not
Actually,
audible.
one is a number of staff, and it has a sound project. I'm sorry.
Maybe it's my end. I don't know.
Hello?
Lada, if it is audible to you, please take it.
No,
It's
we
not
can't
clearly
hear you
audible.
well, Mohammed.
No? Sorry?
No, it's clear, yes. Can you repeat your question, please?
The question is, if a startup company which have limited number of staff and work on a project base where some expertise is hired on a project base, can the company nominate is the pay for the because it's say employee pay, if it is it's not on the payroll of the company but work on a project base, this can be go through, and this has to be nominated by name or by anonymous, but show the expertise.
See, I mean, each applicant can utilize certain portion of the grant amount for subcontracting. Suppose you are leveraging any resource outside your organization,
Yes.
which is actually relevant to the scope of the development, you can utilize this. but there is a cap on subcontracting depending upon the type of your collaboration. So, but you have to emphasize in your scope of the project, what is the need for this subcontracting, why it is so critical. So you have to develop and clearly detailed out the need for subcontracting.
So subcontracting could be individual.
It can be an individual too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So the second question is, I just question based on the co-funding question that you have answered, and you said that the cap of the payment will be the cap of the grant. If there is any, if the candidate failed to secure the other funding at certain moment, a certain point of the project, what the case will be, and then you will continue funding him, or you will still funding until end of the fund, and then project might be not finalized. He will have to seek for other funding or to secure fund by himself.
This grant does not require any co-funding. What I meant is that this, like other grants which we have for tech development, this grant is not about that. So the applicant does not need to demonstrate any co-funding. But what you have to see is that there are certain cost categories which are supportable and non-supportable. If you have any expenses on non-supportable cost, that will be completely has to be paid by the applicant. But like whatever is supportable, it will be 100% from QRDI.
Also,
think,
I'd like
yeah.
to also just point, I think what he is also, in addition to what you've said, Vishnu, he's asking, for example, if his project is beyond the amount of money that we are providing under SPIG, and then he has exhausted the amount of money that we have provided, but the project is not complete as envisioned in the company. Do we continue to support them, or if not under SPIG, would QRDI have other avenues to do that so that they can complete the project? So maybe you can address it like that.
Okay, thank you.
So this is something then like we will actually evaluate this in the application stage itself, because obviously like your scope of the budget, your scope of the project might be more than our budget. So obviously then we will be asking applicant, because the scope of the project and budget is high, what is the way that you will actually like able to fund the other source. So that determines, we'll take into consideration all this in the evaluation criteria, because by design your budget is high than the grant amount. So obviously then applicant has to give some supportable information, sort of like how they can actually be supporting it.
Okay, it's clear.
Thank you, Mohammed. Let's pick another question, and we'll allow one question from each person so that we give the chance to more people to ask. Ali? Ali Marri, you can.
Yes, do you hear me? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, tafadhal.
Many thanks for your excellent presentation. We are a startup in Qatar. We are a Qatari startup. And my question, your funding, it's for the startup or for the SMEs, which is already running? It's for development and, by the way, it's for development and sales, marketing, or only for SMEs, which is want to make their, technology?
Yeah, it's mainly for development, R&D development, and technology development. It's not marketing and
it's for startup or for just any company?
We shared the eligibility criteria. It's for SMEs that are headquartered in Qatar with the employees less than 250 and also annual revenue less than 100.
Then that's understand it's not for the startup, Qatari startup, which is Qatari startup starting by their developing their technology, and they take time to come to the market.
If you meet all those three criteria, you feel free to apply.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's pick another. Zain?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please share
Thank
your
you.
question.
Thank you very much. It was lovely to hear you, all of you. Just want to ask one question. We are Haitham XR. We're based here in Qatar, and we provide content services and the VR end-to-end services in healthcare and education sector. But we currently don't own any product, but we curate the content from third party across the world, and we partner with them and we resell it in Qatar. Are we eligible?
Go
I mean,
ahead,
we need
Vishnu.
to understand what is the scope of the project, no? Because if you're purely cross-selling something, that's not like a supportable activity. As long as you have some kind of a product or a tech development, then only like this grant is intended for.
And what if we propose any self idea on our own idea to create something which is quietly new? Are we eligible?
Yeah, I mean, as it is clearly mentioned that the intent of the grant is to support to build new idea or products. Yeah, but it has to
Okay,
be sort of a developmental in nature, not purely a business model. Yeah.
perfect, perfect, perfect.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Zain.
much.
We'll give the chance to another person to ask. Inad?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, can.
Yeah, so I just have one quick question. I wanted to know how many projects are going to get the grant?
They want to understand the number of awards. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we answered this question earlier.
Sorry, I couldn't get the answer, so if you could repeat that, I'm really sorry about it.
We actually mentioned that we prefer not to disclose the number of awards because sometimes if we receive high number of applications, we
Mm-hmm.
might end up, increasing the numbers. So yeah,
Makes
but
sense.
it's
Thank
the
you.
number
Thank
of
you.
awards, like, yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move to the next person. Sarah?
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Thanks for the presentation. I can understand that only companies based in Qatar are eligible for the grant. We're a France-based company, and my question is there any support for these kinds of company who want to establish a presence in Qatar? Is there any help from the government or a special agency so that they can set up their company and do all the administrative work easily? Because I understand that we cannot apply to the grant until we have like our own entity in Qatar.
So yeah, thank you for your question, Sarah. In
Right.
terms of the entities that can assist, QRDI has got partnerships with different parties within the country, which we can direct you to them for support. But QRDI as an entity does not have the mechanism to do that, other than to direct you to the partners that we work with who are able to do that for you. So if you're interested, please reach out to us and let us know what the circumstances are, and then we'll be able to advise which entity can actually support you in terms of business registration so that you're eligible for the grant.
Okay, thank you. Is there any email address that I can reach out to for this kind of request, please?
It's right in front of the screen.
Okay.
So you can just use that, and then we'll be able to respond to you regarding that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Nada, as you're looking for the next speaker, I think based on the questions that we've been receiving regarding, let's say, the number of awards, I think one thing we should emphasize is that this is a competitive grant. And as it is competitive, we will be looking at the best proposals that meet the evaluation criteria as stated. And based on that, that's when we will see, because we cannot tell how many in advance we were going to award. It will be based on the quality of the proposals received and how competitive these proposals are. And of course, how many then will be determined based on the results. So I think it's very early to talk about numbers in terms of how many we can award before we know the quality of the proposals received and how we have evaluated them.
Yeah, and sometimes we amend the targets or the plans internally based on the number of applications we received. So, but for sure, after evaluating all the applications, the number will be announced and the awarded companies will be announced by end of September. So yeah, the announcement will be made in the end, and it's difficult to share the, we have a target internally. We prefer not to share that with you because of the reasons I mentioned and what Rosina just mentioned now. Let's take another question from two more questions, and then I think Rosina and Vishnu, you're also answering some of the questions in the chat. Let's take two questions, and then if anyone else has any question, feel free to share it through the email address we have here on the slide. And of course, we'll be answering all of your questions till beginning of August. Let's go to one or two more people. Ihab.
Right, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Right, it's interesting because I did not request to ask a question initially, to be honest, but fair enough, I had something in mind, maybe I could ask it. Startup companies from like spin-out companies that were established from university, is that something that would be considered as well? And to be honest, my understanding from your answers is that's possible as far as the eligibility. So maybe you've already answered my question today, but maybe it's good to emphasize if that's true.
Yeah, so when you look at spin-out from the university, they do fit the definition of the SME because they're a company and obviously they would have less than 250 people and less than 100 million Qatarians as revenue. So yes, spin-outs from universities are eligible, and we are actually encouraging them to apply as well because they fit within the eligibility criteria.
Fantastic, excellent, thank you.
Let's take one more from Mustafa.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. I'm resident in Qatar, but my company is not registered yet. I'm still eligible for this?
As mentioned by the team earlier, one of the eligibility criteria is that the company has to be headquartered in Qatar.
Registered. It's headquartered, but not registered yet.
Vishnu, can you elaborate more on this?
Sorry, Mustafa, can you again?
I don't have any CR yet in Qatar. I'm resident in Qatar, but I'm not registered yet as a company, as entity.
Yeah, that's a primary requirement. As you see, there are three eligibility. The company should be registered in Qatar, and not only just registered, that company is a parent entity and headquartered in Qatar. Then you have to support whether the registered entity shareholding pattern, whether this is owned majority either by citizens or residents. So these are the two conditions for sure you need to satisfy beyond the number of employees and revenues.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
So I think we need to, thank you, Mustafa. I think we have to conclude the session now, but we welcome any additional questions through the email address that we have on the slide. I think also we have all the details posted on Anolite on the SPIG page. We'll be answering all the questions we receive from now till beginning of August. And thank you all for attending. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your weekend. And hope to see you soon again in other sessions. Thank you.